Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another nighttime session. This time it's post-work, post-playing the violin, and we're low to the ground. I actually don't understand why we're so low to the ground, but I need to like hunch so my head fits within the video. But today, excitingly enough, we are doing the May wrap-up. May wrap-up, what I read in May. I have to tell you, I hit my stride. So I think what happened is in April, I was super excited to play the violin. Super excited to play the violin. Because I was so excited to play the violin, I didn't want to read. But now that I'm super excited to play the violin, I actually want to procrastinate from doing that very exciting thing. And I want to read instead. So it's one of those things where like you procrastinate from one really good thing with another good thing, which in the grand scheme of things is good because you're doing good things. But I would really like to be able to do both at the same time, you know, like practice the violin a lot and really enjoy playing the solo and also reading a lot and enjoying all the books I'm reading. Like still looking for that balance. But so yeah, May turned into a reading month because I got hooked on what's right here. But first, let's go with the big news that everyone is waiting for is the fact that I finally finished Middlemarch by George Eliot. Now this feels like I finished this so long ago. I just finished this at the beginning of the month, but it already feels like it was like 3 months ago that I finished this book. But I finished reading Middlemarch, which I did not read once in this physical copy. I read it all online. I read it all in PDF at work and on my phone. And it was quite the adventure. Now I do still plan on doing all the other what's it called? All the videos based on each of the 8 books within the book of Middlemarch. So those still plan on going ahead so that you'll get a very, very fully detailed review of what I think of each part of Middlemarch. But to wrap it all up into this just now, I really enjoyed this. So Middlemarch is basically about the relationship amongst certain people within this area right outside of Middlemarch. It's really a book that discusses just so many like class, just like, yeah, class, marriage to get ahead, marriage versus marriage made out of love, what happens when you marry the wrong person. So to really like, it just like really goes into these ideas of like marriage, and then it deals with like, it follows sort of political progress in the country. So there's this political reform in the background, and then you have one character called Mr. Lichen, who is a doctor who has come to live into the town of Middlemarch, and he's sort of come here to revolutionize medicine in Middlemarch. But then you still have all the old physicians that are really pushing against him and hoping he fails and really thinking he's too arrogant and to be pushing all this new stuff when really all the old stuff is what's correct and things like that. So there are a lot of themes in this book, but it all revolves around these certain characters and how they interact with each other, and basically the relationships that are formed from all these interactions. And it just leads to this beautiful, 800-page book that just deals with this one moment in their lives. Now, the thing that's really remarkable about this book, and I think is really well summarized in the finale without spoiling, there is one line that says, "Every limit is a beginning as well as an ending." And it really shows that this book is a moment in the life of these characters. We don't follow their whole lifespan. We just follow like a few years basically. And I think that's what's really lovely about this book in Middlemarch. You're not going to have this huge story with mystery and plot and development schemes like that. No, you're just following people as they live a moment in their lives. So it's delightful, it's touching. But at the same time, while I really did enjoy this book, I can't say that I loved it. And to be honest, I think after a few years have gone by, I will probably have forgotten the majority of what has gone in through this book and who the characters actually are, because it is so much a snippet of these characters' lives, and it is so much just like the natural progression that comes when you interact with people within a small village, a small town, etc., a small community, etc., that it's just so natural that it can, just like your own life, unless you really take the time to look back on your own comings and goings and your friends' coming and goings and whatnot, little by little you're going to forget the details, and you're going to forget the chronology of everything that's happened in your life. So just like Middlemarch, it's like that. So it was really enjoyable to participate in everyone's life and really see the development of the relationships and see where those go. I did particularly like Mr. Lydgate and his struggles against the old fogies as he tries to, you know, push actual correct modern medicine. But yeah, so while I enjoyed myself and this was a delightful read, I don't know how memorable it will be for me. Yeah, that was a bit of a jumbled mess. I should have practiced that before starting the video. But in any case, Middlemarch, we finished it. It's complete. I'm happy. That was a very, very several months of reading little by little. Now, the next book I completed, I actually finished in only like 4 days. Like, I rushed through this book. And that is Jon Krakauer's Missoula, with the subtitle Rape and the Justice System in a College Town. Now, I've read a few Jon Krakauer books now. I've read Into Thin Air, which is his most famous work about Mount Everest and his expedition up there in the year back in the 90s, where there was the most deadliest accident at the time. And that was just an absolutely stunning, beautiful, remarkable, breathtaking book that you couldn't just put down. And I really fell in love with his writing. Then I read his book about this one particular event that happened in a Mormon town. And while the book is very much around that event, it's not really, the event isn't the main issue of the book. The main event is just used as an anchor for the topic of how Mormonism came to exist and how it grew and how it progressed and how it continues to progress in modern time. So Under the Manna of Heaven, I really, really fell in love. So Jon Krakauer is a person I've fallen in love with his writing. I like his presentation. He has an ease to his writing that I think is just really, really page turning. So I knew I was in good hands with Missoula. And everything I just said applies to this. Really remarkable writing, incredibly thorough, really creates this page-turning experience where you can't put the book down. He really looks at all sides of a case. He looks at both point of views in a book that really talks about this concept of rape on college campuses, this particular campus of, but in particular, this one campus in Missoula, where there was a series of rape incidents that just seemed too ridiculous to let pass without like really observing what was going on. Now, the thing about reading this book is that you don't learn anything new, which is an unfortunate situation in two senses of the meaning. It's unfortunate because you do kind of wish you could get more out of the book than what you already are aware of. And the other sense of the meaning of unfortunate is the fact that it's unfortunate that rape and the lack of a justice system for rape is so prevalent and so known that there can't be new information. We already know this, especially as women. We already know this. We already know this happens. Now, there are some women on the other side of the spectrum who, we're not going to delve into that. Their opinions, I don't understand it as a woman, but there are women who seem to be okay with certain types of rape. Yeah, it's unfortunate in that sense that, like, for the most part, the people who read this book are already so well aware of this type of idea that there's nothing new. But it's really well presented. Now, as I said, so this book focuses, basically what it does is it takes the incidents of rape that occurred with some women on this Missoula campus, And it goes into how it goes into the details of the rape itself, but also then it goes into the details of their emotions after they hesitated to pursue justice. Then it goes through the actual justice system, and then it goes again with the results of each case, and what happened to both the perpetrators and the victim. And then it goes into details about sort of what's going on in Missoula at this time and the progress that was made due to these cases and due to these incidents. Now, John Krakauer is very quick to mention at the beginning of the book. I'm struggling with my words tonight. I really apologize. He does mention at the beginning of the book that yes, men can also be victims of rape. That is without a question a fact. Men can be victims of rape. However, for this particular book, he is focusing on the female side of rape. So women as rape victims. He's focusing on that side because men as rape victims can be a whole nother book and a whole nother topic, because there's a lot to be said over there, which actually would probably be a little bit more interesting because it would be new, basically. But yeah, so he does go into that. He does not ignore the fact that men can be rape victims. He just chooses to pursue just the female side of rape in these books. For me personally, this is so well written. I think this is a book that would be really well served in the high school classroom. I think passages of this book should be taken and should be read in health or sex ed classes for high school students, presenting the many sides of what can happen of rape, so that students can understand that rape that being rape is not usually done by strangers in a dark alley at night when you're all alone. It's usually done by people you're familiar with. It's a good book to understand and teach about consent, both giving consent but also taking away consent after you've already given consent, because yes, consent can be taken away even though after you've already given it. You are allowed to change your mind. So there are a lot of things in this book that I think would serve really well in a high school class that should be taught to high schoolers, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year before they go into either the college system or the real world, because this is rape is something that for me is not a controversial topic. It seems really straightforward what rape is, and it is a situation that needs to be taken care of. So this is a very good book, but I do probably recommend it more so for young teens who need to understand what sexual consent is, versus adult readers who are already well familiar with this topic. And I think adult readers would be better served reading maybe an academic portrayal or a more scientific look at this subject, rather than just this, which is a fairly general introduction to the concept, but still very good. John Krakauer can pretty much do no wrong in my eyes in terms of writing. So that was a very, very good book. Very much enjoyed that. Now, the next book that I finished in the month of May is The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Now, I read The Woman in White maybe 2 years ago, I think now, and one of my favorite videos that I've made on this booktube channel is actually about The Woman in the White. Definitely go check it out. I think I need to change the title of the video to make it more obvious that I'm talking about that book. But the Woman in White had me in a chokehold. I was thinking about that book all day, all night, every single day. I couldn't stop thinking about how all I wanted to do was to pick up the book again and to quit my job and just read it. I was hooked in that book. So I really wanted to read another Wilkie Collins, and The Moonstone was fun. It was really, really fun. Now, for me, it wasn't as striking, it wasn't as powerful as The Woman in White, but it was very much a good time. Basically, The Moonstone is a book about a yellow diamond that has been passed down by this uncle who had stolen it back in India, and he passes it down to his niece's daughter, I believe is the connection, if I remember correctly. And now this diamond that he stole from India, I mean, just the fact that he stole it is not very good, but also the fact that it was actually a very legendary diamond that was connected to a god, that he had stolen it from a temple. And there's sort of a curse on this diamond as to once it leaves the sanctuary of the temple, it will bring calamity to whoever possesses the diamond. And there are 3 protectors from India who will chase after you. So this uncle basically gives this diamond to his niece's daughter, Rachel, and calamity ensues when the diamond is stolen on the very night that she receives it for her birthday. So yeah, it's basically a crime story. It's a detective story, and it is really, really fun. But the thing I loved most about this book, because for me, the mystery side was not as gripping as The Woman of the White, which I think was a lot more sensational. I think The Woman in the White had a lot more tension and a lot more suspense and eerie mystery, while this one was just more like lighthearted, fun detective. But the thing that I loved about this was it was so funny. This book is absolutely hilarious. The first character, basically, because this book is presented as a book of sort of like a journal, basically a particular victim in the story has requested that that particular witnesses of the event of the diamond, both on the night it was stolen, but also after it was stolen, the case afterwards and a few years later and whatnot, that person had requested that all these witnesses that write their interaction with the diamond, what they observed, what they witnessed. And so that's how the information is revealed to us. And the very first character, the sort of maître the head butler, the head butler was just so funny, Mr. Bettridge. He was hilarious. There is this particular, I wrote down the quote in my on my laptop, but I didn't note it in here because, again, this book as well, I never read the physical book. I only read it on PDF. But there's this one scene where he's talking about his daughter, and his young daughter was combing his hair, but he's primarily bald, and he's talking about the pain and suffering that only a bald man can understand when a young daughter combs the remaining like strands of hair from his head. But the way he presents it is absolutely hilarious. This book was so funny, and I think that's the appealing point of this book. It was just, I just could not stop laughing. I could not stop smiling. I really, really enjoyed reading this book. Now, the detective story is fairly, I would say, almost conservative. It's very almost straightforward. There are twists, there are turns, as expected from Wilkie Collins. But I think I don't read a lot of detective novels, and I don't read a lot of mystery novels in general. But I think for someone who does read a lot of these books, they would be able to figure out the mystery quite quickly. I was taken by a surprise, but when it was revealed, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm a little dumb. Although I don't really try to make an effort to discover mysteries when I read them, as I read them. But it was kind of obvious. So I think if you're a regular mystery reader, you could figure this out quite easily. So that's why the humor is just the drawing point of this book. So yeah, really enjoyed that. The Moonstone. And there we go. Now, I was supposed to have finished 2 more books this month, but I got obsessed with what's here. So let me show you where I'm at with the books that I still haven't finished. The first one is The Trouble with Lichen. I still have not finished the last 10 pages of this book. That I read in January, basically. So it's taking me like 5 months to read 10 pages because I'm so not interested in this. But it's just 10 pages, so I will finish this. Like, seriously, I will finish this book, I promise. John Wyndham and Trouble with Lichen. I will finish this book. It's going to happen. It will happen. And then the other book that I was supposed to have finished a long time ago is Our Story, a memoir of love and life in China about Pingru. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous memoir of a love story of this couple. This is when they're young. This is when they're older, just this couple. He wrote it, he illustrated all of it. It's this gorgeous memoir about their love and basically as they were growing up during communist China, basically. Well, pre-communism, basically when the Japanese had siege of China, and then as it became a communist country. So it's all about their love story, and everything is illustrated. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I was really enjoying this. It's not at all political as I thought it would be. He basically isn't talking about the political side at all. He's just sharing the happy moments in his life with the love of his life. So it's a really, really beautiful book. And I was like at the beginning, and it's really, really easy to read. Like at the beginning, I was reading like 50 pages a day. So easy. It was just a nice before bed type thing. But I get distracted by this. And what can you say? You get distracted and then you never come back to something. That's how it is. But before I share that, let me share the other thing that I read before this, which is, so basically it's manga. This is manga, just to let you know. So the next thing I read, because right now my goal, and I've been doing really, really well, is to read Japanese every single day. So I've been doing really well with reading manga this year, and I've been doing really well with reading Japanese this year. I'm really, really happy about that. So when I wasn't reading all these novels, basically during lunchtime, manga has been my lunchtime read. I don't read books during lunch, I just read manga. So at the very beginning, I read 4 more volumes of the Ranma 1/2 series. Ranma 1/2 series is this beloved series by Rumiko Takahashi, which this is a series that I grew up with, although I've never read it in its completion. I was actually more, I watched a lot of the anime. But this is just the story of basically Ranma, who is this character, who fell into this pond in China, which means that it's a pond that's cursed. And so basically when he is doused with cold water, he turns into a girl. And when he's doused with warm water, he turns back into a boy. And basically it's just this book, this story about him and his relationship with Akane, who is his fiance. And then all the shenanigans that occur because a lot of characters in the book have also fallen into into a pond in this area of China where that were also cursed, and they each turn into something else. So you have Ryoga, who turns into a pig. Rama's father turns into a panda, etc., etc. So it's all the shenanigans. That's the overarching story, and then there's like little, it's just fun snippets, just interactions with the characters who get, it's definitely like a fighting kind of manga. So like it's a big martial arts manga, so like there will be like villains that come in, or like characters they have to, or things they have to solve, and etc., etc. So it's a really good manga series to read in snippets. So basically what I do is I read a few volumes until one volume finishes a story, and then I put it down, and then I read something else, and then I come back to it. It's just nice to like come back in and out and just read a little bit and enjoy myself. I wouldn't want to binge this, I don't think, because I think it would get too repetitive, but I really just enjoyed reading this. So I read 4 volumes of Ranma 1/2. And now let me show you the big news about what really got me hooked in May and made me stop reading everything else, and made me stop playing the violin, and made me stop doing anything else other than just read. I got hooked, kind of like understandably, but still I'm shocked. I got hooked on Dragon Ball. Yes, I started the very famous Dragon Ball manga, better known as Dragon Ball Z in the English. Even in French, Dragon Ball Z, although Dragon Ball Z is basically like non-existent in Japanese. Basically what it means, like Dragon Ball, no, let me just explain it. But Dragon Ball is the story of Goku. He is encountered by the character Burma. They're about almost the same age. And she runs into him when she's searching for these Dragon Balls. Now these Dragon Balls, if you assemble all 7 of the Dragon Balls, you can make one wish. The dragon will fulfill your wish. And she's looking for them, and Goku happens to have one of them. So they meet up and they decide to look for the Dragon Balls together. And then insanity pursues, and this huge story is created out of this manga series. It's super, super famous. Now, Dragon Ball Z, what's considered as Dragon Ball Z, kind of happens once he's grown up, and then it becomes more of a fighting manga, while in his youth it's more of a like characters getting to know each other and grow up together and start discovering the world with each other, and etc, etc. But this has been such a delight. I grew up watching the anime, but I watched the anime when I was always visiting France in the summer. And the thing is, like, I never was able to stay the entire summer in France. I would stay the majority, but I would miss out a little bit on the beginning. Miss out a little bit on the beginning. So every time I was there, I'd watch Dragon Ball Z, the anime. But you know, I could only watch so far, and then I would have to go home. And then the next summer I'd come back and I would get to watch more. But you know, you don't leave off at the same spot, or it doesn't start at the same spot. So I watched like big chunks of like throughout the series, but it was never ever connected for me. And so now I finally get to see it all come together, and it's been absolutely wonderful. So in the month of May, I ended up reading volumes 1 through 16. Yeah. I've been reading at basically the pace of 1 volume a day right now. Here in the month of June, I'm actually at like 2 a day right now. Like, I'm telling you, I am obsessed. I've already read half the series, but you'll learn more about that in the month of June. But yeah, so I read the very first 16 volumes, which is basically leads up to what would be considered Dragon Ball Z, where he becomes an adult, and Vegeta comes in and he starts discovering what it is to be a Saiyan, or who the Saiyans are, and his backstory and whatnot. So this has been absolutely fantastic. The art is exquisite. The art is so amazing. That's what shocked me the most. Like, obviously I watched the manga, and you get to just so I watched the anime, and usually the anime artists make the anime look like the manga, but seriously, the manga is so good, and the detail and the story and everything's connected, and there's nothing that's missed. Even just the fact that the characters get haircuts throughout the entire series, for me, is just like mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. So anyway, I will definitely be making separate videos on Dragon Ball Z, because there's so much I want to talk about, and there's no way I can talk about it right now. Like, seriously, it's just impossible. Like, really, I was actually planning on doing like a video on like the first 10 volumes, and then volumes 11 to 20, and then etc, all the way to volume 42, which is the entire series. But like, I became so hooked that I couldn't stop reading, and I just kept reading and reading, and I never made those videos. And now I'm like, oh, well, now I have too much to talk about, and it's ridiculous. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at. I'm hooked on Dragon Ball. I can't wait to read the entire thing. I'm hooked, and that's all I will be doing in the month of June, just reading Dragon Ball. Well, actually, I have another surprise, which you're going to find out in a video pretty soon. If it's not the next video, it'll be the next, whatever, you'll find out. I have big plans in June, and you'll find out what they are very soon. But yeah, I'm hooked. This is what I'm doing. I'm a Dragon Ball. This might actually, everyone always asks me what my favorite manga series is, and I've never had an answer. This might be the answer. Dragon Ball might be my favorite series. Like, I think it's happening. So yeah, anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this kind of chaotic video. Like, I actually don't know if I really talked about the books really well. It was a bit of a mess. But, you know, it's really hard to do these monthly wrap-ups, because like, when you're in the month, it feels really, really short. But once you reach the end of the month and you have to talk about everything you read, like, there's actually a lot that went on. Like, there are a lot of details that I would have loved to talk about, which I don't, and I can't, because I'm talking about too much at once. So yeah, I probably did a terrible job wrapping all of this stuff up, because also I'm just too excited, and then there's too much I want to share. And do you even know what any of this? Did I even properly give you a summary of everything? I don't really think so. I don't really know. So anyway, that was chaos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!